did you, first get started? What were your influences?
How I got started? I got started just at a fourth grade assembly where somebody from a music store came by and said, you can just pick an instrument and play it in the fourth grade band. And I picked the snare drum. So it wasn't even a whole drum set. And for whatever reason, I just felt like I had an affinity to wanting to play the snare drum. So I got a practice pad and a pair of sticks. And then my parents found me a private teacher, which worked out to great advantage for me because it was in the Boston area, really great, well-rounded teacher that was an old swing drummer. He had grown up in the 30s and 40s, and this is 1963 when I started. And so he just had me grounded in the rudiments, reading music and jazz coordination with the Jim Chapin book, and then the Ted Reed syncopation book as applied to, jazz coordination. And then I kept studying with him all through high school, odd time stuff. So it was like I had a good technical background, and influence-wise, I mean, my first influences were probably like Gene Krupa and Buddy Rich and Louis Bellson and Joe Morello and
about Zutty Singleton.
That didn't come until later.
Oh, okay,
I didn't really do the deep dive back, because then I love big band, so I would go to see the big band. And I'd go. Even before I had my driver's license, like my parents would bring me to see Buddy Rich, or I remember seeing Dizzy Gillespie, and they took me to see Elvin at the Jazz Workshop, and it was Elvin's group that played like the Live at the Lighthouse record. It's Dave Liebman and Steve Grossman and Gene Perla and Don Elias, I believe was, and so that was a little like over my head. Like I was probably like in my first year of high school or something. And I didn't really understand exactly what was going on, because I used to see in Maynard Ferguson and Buddy Rich. So by the time I got to Berkeley, that being involved in that culture opened me up to small group jazz and Elvin and Tony Williams and Miles Davis, John Coltrane, and that's when I just discovered you. So that's like I went there in 1972, the year you started with. I graduated high school and went right to Berkeley in 1972, and then so I had like more of a jazz background. Of course, I played in high school rock bands and all that kind of stuff. So at that time, there wasn't so many boundaries between jazz and rock. It was like very fluid, like I said, I play big band, but half of the charts in the big band were kind of rock charts anyway, so you'd play swing, you'd play rock, and so it was a fertile time. That then, I think quite naturally, I played jazz rock. Because that's what was going on in 1972. It was like the Mahavishnu Orchestra. And then Bitches Brew, as we know, was 69. But then right after that was with Mahavishnu, Weather Report, Return to Forever, Tony Williams, new Tony Williams Lifetime, and all of that music. So I don't, personally, like the way I see it, it wasn't so much different than jazz. It was the new way of playing jazz. That's what it felt like. It was like, okay, here's what the guys on the cutting edge. This is how they're playing. It's like jazz with a rock sound, with some rock feel, and then everyone had their individual take. Like, I think the way you took to it as different than Tony and Billy Cobham is you retained like the aesthetic of the small drum set. Rather than this, going with the big drum set, which it gave you a kind of, and this is from my perspective, but like a fluidity and a kind of a buoyancy and a freedom on the kit that was really unique in those fusion years, let's say the early fusion, early jazz rock years, that was different than, say Billy Cobham, who I totally love and is one of my main influences as well. But that was like very funky and grounded and, clearly subdivided.
Right.
And then on the other hand, you retain this kind of fluidity, but the music, like when you listen to the music of Infinite Search or the John Abercrombie record, that's totally jazz rock fusion. It's like highly influenced by what was going on in that world. It's a very interesting time.
Yeah.
So somehow, from the generation that I'm in, like that, it was like I somehow got all of that stuff that you were involved in, let's say in the first generation. I was more in the second generation of it, like right after.
Right.
Coming right after that first explosion of...
start, you know, playing with the, we're talking about the jazz rock, you did Journey. When did you start that?
Well, Journey came along later. Like first, when I left Berkeley, it was with Jean-Luc Ponty.
Oh yeah, right, okay.
You know, so I went from, you know, playing the Berkeley, like, which had, like, there was a wide influence there because we were playing a lot of straight ahead, and then we were playing, like, very free. Like, I was playing with George Garzone and the Fringe a little bit, you know, I used to sub for Bob Galati, and then we were influenced by, like, the jazz rock kind of a sound, and so and Gary Burton was the head of the music department. So the ECM thing, the ECM concept was, you know, very integrated into the school, like, you know, very free and loose, and just that aesthetic was also part of it. So it was really a lot of influences and multi-directional, to use your phrase. You know, it was very multi-directional. And so I ended up getting this audition with Jean-Luc Ponty, and just somehow, because I had enough of different influences and I could read, and he wanted somebody that could read, I ended up getting the gig. So I played with him for over a year and made my first album with him, Enigmatic Ocean, and then, you know, went on to do some other things, but eventually the guys in Journey heard me in 1978 and asked me to be in the group. So it seemed interesting, you know, and so I decided to join a rock band and see what that was like, because it was so different from anything I had done.
So how long did you stay with this?
7 years. The initial body of work was created between 78 and 85. And so that was, you know, pretty intense period of, like, working around the clock, pretty much, like recording, touring, just not like a cycle.
Steve Smith on drums.
Now you have an amazing technique. You know, I mean, you know. Just,
well, thank you for that.
For me, it's I mean, it's impressive, and I have a lot of respect for what you do, man, because you work hard on it. It doesn't just, it's fluid now, but you know, people don't see how much time
you
put in it to get to a place where it's fluid, where you can play, you know, odd meters and play things back to back, and you know, backwards and forward.
Yeah.
And so that I know it took you quite a bit of time, but the way you play now and the way you played then, what's different?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think like for the main thing that's different is I have a much wider range of dynamics now, and I think I played pretty loud. Actually with Jean-Luc Ponty, it was I never played because I was playing clubs and not theaters, but clubs and gigs around Boston, and you couldn't play that loud.
Yeah.
And I was playing with a lot of acoustic players, so you can't play that loud either. So, but with Ponty, it was like this full-on. He was right out of Mahavishnu Orchestra. He had the bass player from Mahavishnu was in the band, Ralph Armstrong. From the second incarnation of Mahavishnu. So that was like very muscular. That's when I got my first SONOR kit, because I showed up with a little jazz kit. Yeah. And that's when he said, no, double bass. And so it's 1977 again, got the double bass SONOR kit. So I start in 2 24-inch bass drums. So I went in that direction of like, more like in the mold of Billy Cobham and Lenny White, Alphonse Mouzon, like, that kind of, and Narada Michael Walden. He was he was a really big influence. And then as time went on, and after I left Journey in '85, and I had my own group, I started playing with Steps Ahead. And it was actually the last incarnation of Steps Ahead with Michael Brecker, before he did that first solo record that you play on.
Oh, yeah.
The beautiful, like his
I really
initial.
enjoyed it. He was a great writer and
great
wrote,
album.
Something for each instrument, put their teeth into.
And that's such a great album. But as time went on, I played with more and more acoustic musicians, which demanded that my volume and touch, and so I really worked on the touch. So I can play with the big sound and loud if I want, but also with the very light touch. and I guess a thing, to touch on of, young musicians coming up, to develop high-level virtuosity, it takes a lot of self-discipline. And it really takes a lot of, like I get up every day and I love practicing. And so I practice like 6 days a week. I take Sunday off, but essentially I like to practice 6 days a week.
How long do you practice?
It depends. It doesn't have to be long. It can be an hour, it can be 2 hours. But sometimes if I'm preparing for something like gigs, it might be 3 or 4. I don't have the stamina that I used to have. I just turned 70. So, but I find that I put in the time, and that's like there's nobody telling me to do it. That's why I say it's self-discipline, and you really and I figured it out years ago. I have to force myself to do it sometimes because I don't feel like it. But then on the other side of it, it's like even though I get booked for gigs and I have a tour, I don't feel like playing every night. But you have to. So there's some nights where it's just like, I really don't want. But with the discipline, self-discipline of practicing, it's like you're preparing yourself to play every night. Because when you get to the point of being a professional musician, there is that pressure on you to perform at a high level. Because people are paying money, they don't want to be disappointed. There's the guys in the band and don't want to be disappointed. So how do you deal with that pressure and that intensity of keeping?
Well, I saw it as a challenge. I mean, I practiced a lot, even when I was on tour. I'd warm up and practice things in the hotel room. I'd make up a ride cymbal. I had a chair. It was a ride cymbal, and a pillow or the sofa.
You have to do that.
And one of the things I developed early on when I was in Chicago, because you go to different jam sessions, and each, different drummers, you'd have to play their sets the way their heads were. And some were like really loose, and some were really tight. So I used to practice on pillows, then I used to practice on a table, so that I wouldn't get thrown when I sat in to play. Because there were guys who would get in there and say, "Oh, I can't play this drum because they're too tight. Oh, I can't play this drum because they're too soft, too soggy." And so I said, "Oh, okay, that's what I'm going to run into." So I would practice on the pillow because you had to lift the wrist up, no bounce. And then do that softly, And then when I get to the jam sessions, I was okay. It didn't. I didn't get thrown, But it was something that really made sense to me. It popped up and said, okay. And I saw guys get thrown by the tuning of the drums. When they sang.
And also by the setup, because that's another sit-in protocol. You don't touch the guy's setup. Don't give me a minute to, no. You just sit down and play. Don't touch anything. I know.
No, that's definitely what's happening. So practicing for me was I used to practice rudiments on my thighs while I watched television. I could just do it, and I used to just practice like maybe 6-7 hours a day. I used to practice 3 hours on the drums, or 4 hours on drums, and then 3 hours on the piano. I'd take a lunch break. And come back.
And there was a self-discipline. You had a system.
I was into it. And then when I was on the road, of course, when you're playing a lot, your chops are up. Your stamina and all that. So, but even with that, I still, practice, warmed up before I hit the stage. And like playing with Miles and playing with Herbie Dave Holland and Pat Metheny put this group together.
We played a couple of gigs together.
Yeah.
Like I was playing with Steps Ahead, and we played at Saratoga Performing Arts Center.
Yeah.
And we opened for that group. It was Pat Metheny, Herbie, Dave Holland, and then we all flew to Paris and did the same thing. And I saw you in Paris like 2 days later or something.
Yeah.
So that was an amazing group.
Yeah. No, it's like, you have that with Miles. It was like couldn't wait to hit the stage.
Okay.
See what kind of mischief we get in tonight. It's like, and so you had this adrenaline going up there, like getting ready to play, and Miles, he expected you to just be able to play what you don't know instead of licks and things like that. So the whole band was like that. When Wayne joined, with Wayne in it and Chick and Dave, and you could try anything, not anything, but you try, and Miles would, if something wasn't right, he would say it, but he never said it that often, that much. He never bothered me that much, except Live at the Cellar Door, which was with Keith
and John McLaughlin was on some of that too.
And I thought, that was an educational thing in terms of teaching and in terms of group ensembles, because they recorded 4 nights of the same music. And so each night was different, studying the development. How much does the music change? Playing the same music, what you come up with. And then there I had my Sonar kit, but I had a 20-inch, and I took the front head off. And I think I had the tom-toms off too. But,
the bottom heads off the toms.
Huh?
You had the bottom heads
off. Bottom heads off the tom.
Yeah.
And I had just the strip in the back head, the batter head.
Yeah.
And that's where you got that boom, you got that tight sound. But what was nice about having the head off is that bass drum projected, down, in a way that, it didn't project. It's a different sound.
Yes.
It's a different sound. So anyway, we talked about, discipline and, being set. So I have to, admit that I had to get ready for you.
I had to get ready for you.
No. Yeah. But, since I don't tour around anymore, but I play locally, but.
Yeah.
And so I have to, I was for a while, since I didn't have a group, I didn't have anything like.
Yeah.
And I had to get, set up for. I just sort of, I didn't bother the drums or the piano, And my wife Lydia said, you're just flat. You need to play, and you need to have stuff together. You're going to play with Steve, and you're going to do another record date. And I said, you got to discipline and follow through. So thanks to her, and I started doing that. I practiced, a lot of drums, and then I got a solo piano concert coming up. I got to get together for that. But playing the instrument, it's different since you don't do it every day. And so now
sometimes it's a burden.
But I mean,
sometimes it's like it's like a lot. It's a lot to keep up.
Again, I want to thank you because because it was like a pressure. It's like, oh shit, you got to get together here, man, and at least hold your own with Steve because he's playing all the time. So that's what I was.
I felt
doing.
The same thing, Jack. It's been like a push to get it together to come here.
And then us playing on the Sonar kits here, and playing off each other and playing music. Yeah. Not just drumming.
2 musicians making music.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, these are instruments, and they are. Sonars really speak and help bring out your voice.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man.
Hey, man.
Been a great hang, great talk.
Yeah, fantastic.
And congratulations to SONOR for 150
That's right.
years.
Long live SONOR Drums.
Yeah, right on.